A very good evening and welcome. This is News First Weekend Primetime News here on MTV Sports. I'm Ramesh Irukal Bandara. Now, fierce wind-driven wildfires spread along the California coast northwest of Los Angeles, threatening 4,000 homes and a military base as residents were evacuated ahead of flames and a university campus was closed down. We will have details later on in the news, but before that, here's a look at the headlines tonight. President emphasizes that it is the responsibility of all those who love the country to speak the greatness of the country and not only point out its flaws. South Fonseca says that he will join with the UNP alternative group for the Northwestern Provincial Council polls. Paddy farmers in Mahawar face difficulties due to the lack of fertilizer that was promised. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Cricket Selection Committee requests to recall all Sri Lankan players who are not playing in the IPL. President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that it is the responsibility of all those who love the country to speak of the greatness of the country and not only point out its flaws. The President made this statement addressing the annual prize giving of the Dharmasoko College, Ambalangoda.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa presented awards to 23 students who showcased exceptional performances during the past years. A commemorative stamp to mark 100 years of the school was also issued at the event, and a memento was also presented to the head of state. There are flaws in every single country. However, those countries do not highlight those flaws for the entire world to see. The good of the country is what we can be proud about. Just like we are proud of our country, we should also begin to think that we are a great nation. So when we consider that our country is great, our school is great, and our parents are great, we will be reluctant to commit wrongs. Meanwhile, the Swajin Sima Malakaya on the Maduganga in close proximity to the Ambalantota Cup in Nawalawa was declared open by the President today. President Mahinda Rajapaksa also presented the Sri Sannas Patre on the position of the Mahanayaka of the Amarapura Sri Saddamavangsa sect to Ahungale Sirisila Visuddhi Anunayaka Thero.
A high-ranking police officer says that former Deputy Mayor of Colombo, Azad Saleh, has been discharged from the National Hospital and brought back to the Criminal Investigations Department. Police media spokesperson S.V. Buddhika Sirivada notes that the CID is continuing to investigate the former Deputy Mayor of Colombo. The police media spokesperson noted that after 72 hours expire, they would obtain detention orders and continue to carry out their investigations. The CID arrested Azad Saleh on the 2nd of this month while he was at a house in Salemulla, Kolonnawa. When News First made inquiries about his health condition, the acting director of the National Hospital, Dr. Cyril Silva, noted that they conducted medical tests on him as he is refusing to consume food.
මම ගිය වෙලාවේ තාත්තගේ ඔළුවේ සුදු පාට බෑන්ඩ් එකක් ඔය ගැට ගහලා තිබ්බත් මම යන් ඇහුවා තාත්තා මොකද්ද මේ.
When I went to see him, there was a white-colored band around his head. I asked him if they had done anything to him. He touched his head and he implied that his head was paining and said they had not done anything. I put in a great effort to understand what he is saying. My mother was also with me. We told him to at least drink water if he is not eating food. He refused that as well and stated that he is someone who fought for peace and justice.
Meanwhile, TNA parliamentarian attorney at law M.S. Sumandiran was granted the opportunity to meet Azad Saleh. Earlier, they said no one could meet him. Then, when I called the director of the CID and stated that I have a right to speak to him as a lawyer, I was allowed in. He has not eaten anything or drunk anything since he was arrested. He is engaging in a fast. He said that he is being questioned with regard to an interview he gave to an Indian magazine. Before Azad Saleh was arrested, he had complained to the magazine that the article that was published contained false information. He has handed over this email in this regard to the CID. He said that the corrected article was to be released today. He has not been questioned on any other issue. JVP Politburo member Anurakumar Disanayaka says that the government has double standards when implementing the law. He made this statement in Mathale today. The government is implementing the law according to its likes and dislikes. If the government thinks someone should be jailed, they jail them. If they think someone should be released, they release them. During the recent past, we saw how the ruling party politicians were brought before the law on charges of rape and murder. They were arrested. However, they were released due to some unforeseen blessing from higher-ups in the government. But what is happening now? They have begun a campaign to quash opposing views. They have opened the doors to arrest individuals that oppose the government through the Prevention of Terrorism Act. This act surpasses almost all laws in the country, and this is what they used to arrest Azad Saleh. This cannot be approved. If he has committed some wrong, then he should be tried under the common law. Instead, the government has utilized the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Through this, he or any other citizen could be detained indefinitely without being granted bail. The will of the government has become the law. This is not favorable for the country.
The Prevention of Terrorism Act was brought about in 1979 by the then government after taking into consideration the situation at that time. However, taking into consideration the impact the act has on human rights, the act was named and brought forward as a temporary act. Courts cannot grant bail to any individual charged under this act. The Defence Secretary has the authority to issue detention orders under this act. Evidence is not required to issue an arrest order under this act, and a mere complaint lodged with the police that an individual is engaging in terrorist activities is sufficient to initiate an arrest. Bail granted to the chairman of the Tangol Pradeshi Sabha, who was accused of murdering a foreigner and assaulting a woman. Azad Saleh arrested. Tangol UPFA urban councillor accused of molesting a 14-year-old girl released on bail. Azad Saleh arrested. Chairman of the Akrasa Pradeshi Sabha, who was arrested for molesting an underage girl, released on bail. Azad Saleh arrested. Duminda Silva, a suspect in the killing of Bharata Lakshman Premachandra, granted bail. Azad Saleh arrested. For yours and our attention.
On to other local news now. The leader of the Democratic Party, Sarath Fonseca, says that he will contest the Northwestern Provincial Council post together with the UNP Alternative Group.
The leader of the Democratic Party, Sarath Fonseca, engaged in religious observances at the Udapola Sapumal Bandara Temple in Polgahawela. We will contest the Northwestern Provincial Council polls together with the UNP Alternative Group with new forces and a new culture under my party symbol. We will undertake a new journey and hope to render a service to the people of this area by achieving victory.
Constitutional advisor to the UNDP in Nepal, Rohan Edrisinghe, says that there are many elected dictatorships in South Asia. He made this statement during a special lecture held yesterday.
It is through freedom of speech and expression that the people in power are kept accountable. That people in power are reminded of the promises they make at an election. Because democracy doesn't end by putting your vote in the ballot box. In this part of the world, in South Asia, we have too many elected dictatorships. And freedom of speech and expression is vital to ensure an absence of abuse of power, corruption, accountability, and responsiveness. The European Court of Human Rights, in a famous case involving media freedom, the Handyside case, has reminded us that freedom of speech and expression includes the freedom to shock, to offend, and disturb. It's so easy for us to be tolerant of speech that we like. The true test of our commitment to freedom of speech and expression is whether we accept and tolerate freedom speech that we detest and do not like.
There have been issues since journalism activists came into being. Journalists have been suppressed in various ways through the emergency regulations and other laws in the country, such as the Sri Lanka Press Council Act, Parliamentary Privileges, and the Prevention of Terrorism Act. It is true that newspapers have been concealed in the past. Even then, there was an atmosphere where a journalist could act freely. However, there is no official in charge of newspapers today, nor have newspapers have been sealed. However, this does not constitute the freedom of the press. The current leaders have no need to engage in such a suppression because the media has become very docile. They have done this through intimidation as well as giving various perks and benefits. We cannot expect something like this in a democracy.
මෙවැනි තත්ත්වයක් කිසිසේත්ම ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී රාමුවක් තුල අපේක්ෂා කරන්න බෑ.
On to our developing story tonight. The chairman of the Public Utilities Commission, Dr. Jayatissa Di Costa, says that the commission is prepared to implement the recommendations of the president on the electricity tariffs. He made this comment in response to the inquiries made by News First.
The Public Utilities Commission will approve the tariffs in a manner which provides relief to the electricity consumers. This is being done in accordance with Clause 30, Sub-Clause 4 of the Electricity Act, which states that the government through the Treasury could provide the CEB with funds to cover their costs. The President acts as the Finance Minister, so he can approve it. This has happened before as well. As regulator of prices in the electricity sector, it is our duty to do this.
And it's time now for the newspaper cartoon of the day. Chairman of the National Cricket Selections Committee, Sanath Jayasuriya, says that he has forwarded a request to Sri Lanka Cricket to bring all cricketers not playing in the IPL back to Sri Lanka. He expressed this view while attending an event in Mathura.
මම ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයට දැනුවත් කරලා තියෙනවා.
I have discussed with Sri Lanka Cricket to hold talks with the BCCI and the IPL franchises to bring back Sri Lankan players who are not playing in the IPL because Sri Lanka will take part in a triangular series ahead of the Champions Trophy in England. I think if the cricketers can play in that series, it will be a good practice for them. So I have forwarded my request to Sri Lanka Cricket as the chairman of the selection committee. I hope Sri Lanka Cricket will take a quick decision after discussing this matter with the BCCI and the IPL franchises so that the cricketers who are not playing in the IPL can be called back to the country to play in the triangular series.
පුළුවන් නම් ඒගොල්ලෝ ක්‍රීඩා කරන්න නැත්නම් ලංකාවට ගෙනල්ලා දෙන්න මේ තරඟාවලියට තුන්කොන් තරඟාවලියට සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න කියලා.
An event was held at the Uyanwatha grounds in Mathura to mark 4 years for the City Football Club in Mathura under the auspices of the club president Sanath Jayasuriya. A football academy was inaugurated at the event and uniforms were presented to the soccer players.
Coming up on the News First International Desk. Rescuers recovered the bodies of 2 US pilots whose refueling plane crashed in Kyrgyzstan.